The stories of Liverpool have been passed down and continue to evolve through its writers, both established and upcoming. Theatres such as the Everyman work with playwrights who represent the talent of the city. They provide a space in which they can showcase their work and continue to capture the voices and memories of a city and its people. Willie Russell grew up around Merseyside and was among noted individuals such as Julie Walters, Jonathan Pryce, Pete Postlethwaite and Bill Nighy, who made their debuts at the Everyman Theatre during the 1970s. He has written many famous works including Educating Rita and Blood Brothers. Educating Rita was recently revived at the Liverpool Playhouse during March, a production Russell helped to oversee.
I've had a long theatrical career, that's had a lot to do with Liverpool. Many of the plays have been set in Liverpool. I don't write about Liverpool. I try to write about everywhere. But everything I write about is written, not everything, but a lot of what I've written is written through a Liverpool voice.
Jeff Young lives in Liverpool and has been writing for nearly 30 years. He is an established writer for radio, television and theatre. His recent play, Bright Phoenix, was born from a commission from the Everyman to write a play based on his perception of Liverpool and was performed at the theatre during October 2014. Bright Phoenix focuses on a group of misfit adults bringing the Liverpool of their childhoods back to life during a night spent together, exploring Lime Street and reminiscing about their pasts.
Nearly everything I write about is the city. Quite often Liverpool, but cities and the city experience. Liverpool's my place, even though I've lived in lots of different places as well, I always come back. And because the initial brief was tell a story about your Liverpool, it was like wanting to kind of honour that kind of quite a wild childhood, There were no safety zones. There was no health and safety. It was just like kids running wild, and I love that, and I miss that, and I think that's something that is missing in childhood today.
The Everyman Theatre was first built in 1873 as Hope Hall and has since been used as a church and even a cinema. It wasn't until 1964 that the building was open to the public as a theatre. The theatre was completely rebuilt between 2011 and in 2014 won the award for Best British Building of the Year.
It just had some of the best, acting talent, not only in Britain, anywhere. It was, Bernard Hill, Jonathan Pryce, Alison Steadman, Julie Walters, Matthew Kelly, Bill Nighy, as you say, Liz Estenson, Phil Joseph, George Costigan. It was just, and one knew at the time. Even though I didn't start going to theatre myself until I was kind of 19, you knew when you saw this group of actors that they were extraordinary. If I'd come across a theatre that was like the Everyman, where politics was just as music was a natural part of every production, politics was a part of every production. It was a very politically conscious times. All the plays really have some kind of critique of certain aspects of Liverpool tribalism, chauvinism, what have you. Those less attractive aspects of Liverpool.
It's personal to me. Part of telling Bright Phoenix was to say you're hurting the city, you're hurting Lime Street, you've killed the futurist, and you're hurting me, and you're hurting these memories.
Even as it dies, it's beautiful, this building, and the idea that people need to get together in the pictures, in the pub, in the street, it's a beautiful idea. Straight up, places are closing down all the time. Community centres, boozers, libraries, swimming baths. And once a building's closed, it dies before your eyes. Roof caves in, cellars flood, windows smash. And you wait. You wait so long that people forget the building's there, knock it down, done for, or turn it into luxury apartments. So I break in, and even if it's not nailed down, I take it and weigh it in. I've grafted since I was a kid, for nothing. So, keep the wolf on the door.
When we spoke to lots of people who came to see the play, and older people who used to go to the Futurist, and they remember it, and they remember Lime Street the way it used to be, and they were hurt too. They were offended and angry. These amazing post-show discussions where people were raging against against what had happened there.
Liverpool being what it is, and Liverpudlians being Liverpudlians, when I go around the corner for lunch or I go down the road to get something or other, I'm not always, but the chances are I'll be recognised, and it will usually be by someone who's been to see the play. And being Liverpudlians, they'll tell you what they thought of it. And if the production's not a good production, they'll blame me, right? Even down to the choice of costume. So if I'm going to bump into people like that, I like to know that the production is absolutely top notch. And Liverpool deserves that.
I think if you're writing theatre, it's a very public thing, It's not like being a screenwriter where nobody really gets to make a connection with the writer. They might see an interview with that person on the TV or read an interview in the newspaper, but they're kind of separated. If you're writing for theatre and you're living in the same place and you're out and about and you're meeting people, you're kind of like really exposed, So I think if people are going to write for theatre, that's something that they need to expect. That A, it's exhausting, B, it drives you mental, and you kind of make yourself quite vulnerable in the act of doing all that. It's kind of worth it, but you've got to be a bit mad to do it, I think.
The theatre has remained supportive of new local artists and writers with programmes such as the Playwrights Programme and the Young Writers Programme, which offers 18 to 25-year-olds the opportunity to become involved with professional playwrights, theatre practitioners, and to have their writing workshops with the theatre's literary department.
Since the Everyman opened in the 1960s, it was always a place for new work, really. There'd always be revivals, and there'd always be a kind of irreverent Shakespeare. There'd always be a Christmas show. But they always place new writing at the heart of it, of the kind of philosophy, of their belief system. And what Liverpool's like, it's full of people who've got stories to tell. I think there's always been a sense of at the Everyman that the doors are open, and that if you're a writer and you've got a really strong story to tell, this is a place where you can hopefully come and tell it.
I started on the Young Writers Programme, which was a 12-month sort of course where you got to write the first draft of the play, have feedback from the other writers, and then have your play workshopped by actors and a director. So it was there was a lot going on in the programme, which was really exciting.
For me, it's been amazing. I got onto the programme, and from there I just kind of worked with Lindsay and Hayley, and we worked together over a year with different people from different backgrounds, and every week we met up and we kind of compared work, and sometimes we'd have lessons on how to write plays, and then other times it'd be more about your own personal writing, and everyone kind of developed together under the roof of an amazing theatre with such amazing history.
I was able to go to workshops with Duncan Macmillan, who's a playwright, and also watch work and development of other playwrights. So Joe Warden-Munro, I think Daniel Matthews as well, they had performances on. I just found it really inspiring, really interesting, and it made me really want to be able to do it myself, get involved basically. And there's so many opportunities in Liverpool if you want to get involved in theatre. We're really lucky in this city, and that's where it began for me.
I think a lot of other theatres could be more accessible. I mean, I think the Everyman is, but a lot of them kind of, you can go and see a brilliant show and think, oh, I'd love to write something for them, but there's no way, they don't accept scripts, or when you write to them, you don't get a response. So I think it's programmes like this which are really important for getting people of all ages into theatre and writing.
I wanted to do it here in Liverpool at the Everyman and the Playhouse because it's such an incredible legacy of brilliant writers, brilliant theatre, really exciting theatre.
I'm not somebody who's ever been through a developmental process, and I sometimes despair at the good intentioned developmental processes of theatres, because they seem really not to produce a great deal of compelling drama. There might be very interesting talking shops for a lot of the time, and there's nothing wrong with talking, but I think plays of passion get written because somebody is very, very single-mindedly trying to create something that as yet has never existed before. It's the best way to learn is the doing of it, not the talking shop. I'm not saying that great critical insight and opinion isn't valuable. It is. Sometimes you can, be struggling with a piece of work, and it takes that kind of critic. But there are very, very few people in this world who've got that phenomenal skill of being able to see a script and understand immediately where the weakness is. And now, the best thing a theatre can do, and this is where the Everyman was crucial in my development, was the then director, Alan Dosser, said to me, a young writer, would I adapt an existing documentary about the Beatles that was on at Manchester at the time? And me being, unknown to him, a huge kind of Beatle freak. I'd been sagging school and going to the Cavern when I was 14 years of age, so I knew everything there was to know. And because I had the kind of arrogance of the young writer, I said to him, no, I won't adapt that. I'll write you a new show. And because the times in which we lived then were very different, he was able to go to his board and say, I want to commission Willie Russell to write a full-length play, musical, about the Beatles to go on the main stage. That was possible in those days. That was the biggest development, that I was given the Everyman stage.
Just being very useful to speak to people whose jobs it is to select plays and put them on, and for them to kind of give you little hints and tips and let you know their opinion. At the end of the day, it's their opinion on your play. But I do understand the idea of the author being solely responsible for the work, and I think that you do get very precious about when you've spent months and months on a script and then someone reads it and they say, oh, I didn't like this and didn't like that. It can be quite infuriating, but I think you should ask for advice and then decide interiorly whether you want to take it or not. And I think there's no harm in getting advice off other people.
Yeah, I think it's different for everyone. I like having as many opinions as possible, so I like lots of people to have read it and given their thoughts. And to me, the bit when the actors come in and are direct, that's kind of at the end where that happens. I like it to sort of, pass it on, even if it's just friends or other writers that I'm quite close to. I like to have as many sort of people's inputs as possible, because I think that's where you really kind of think, yeah, they're right about that part.
It's influenced my work. Meeting other writers and work in the literature department has influenced my work hugely, I would say. We get the opportunity to speak with lots of other playwrights. I've met some really incredible playwrights over the last few months, and also other writers. And from just from discussing the writing process at the very beginning, you begin to understand that there's lots of different ways you can approach writing theatre.
It is a struggle for emerging writers to break into today's industry. Fortunately, there are some local theatres, such as the Everyman, who provide support with initiatives like the Young Writers Programme that give writers a platform and a chance to exhibit their work, continuing the tradition of theatre in the city of Liverpool.
I think it's really hard, and I think you have to stick at it as long as you can, because there's a lot of rejection. You'll send off emails for different commissions and you'll hear back 1 out of 10 times, and fortunately for me, I've been lucky to kind of keep getting different commissions after each project, but it's been hard and it's a lot of work to keep kind of putting yourself out there on a daily basis. And that's why this program is perfect, because it kind of incubates you and encourages you to it just gets you ready for that next step. So without that year in the Everyman, I don't think I would have done as much as I've done in this year that's just happened, really.
We are lucky in Liverpool. We've got the Lantern Theatre, which is a lovely theatre, great people there as well. I'm also doing right in there. And also, you know, the Unity, obviously the Royal Court, and all, you know, all the theatres we have here. Liverpool's just a great city to do it, and the Everyman's at the heart of that, isn't it? So.